Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of vision, inspiration, belonging, and empowerment. Brought to you by Naturals to Go, the VIBEcast is your gateway to realizing your entrepreneurial dreams. In each episode, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit, offering you the tools and insights you need to turn your dreams into reality. We're all about fostering a powerful vision, sparking inspiration, nurturing a sense of belonging, and providing the empowerment you need to thrive. So sit back, relax, and get ready to dive into the vibe. It's time to take your entrepreneurial journey to the next level. Thank you for joining us, and let's start living the vibe.
Hey folks, Linda Ballesteros here. Thanks so much for joining me today on a new episode of VIBEcast. We're going to have tons of fun today. We're going to be talking about women in business. I recently read a Forbes article, but you know what? I'm just going to give you the title of the article because that says it all. The title of this article was Change Makers, Women Entrepreneurs Shaping a Better Future for Girls. I love that title because, you know, that's what we're doing. We're setting up our next generation. We're setting them up so that they don't have as many obstacles as certainly as I did when I was in corporate. So my guests today are all expert women entrepreneurs here. We have Lyndsey Wolfsmith, we have Jessica Melendez, and we have Laura Rolfe. So ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. I really can't wait to see what we're able to share. And I know that y'all have some great experiences and stories that you'll be able to tell us. Before we get started in that, I'd like for you to introduce yourselves. So tell us just a little bit about you, yourself, and maybe what you're doing today. Lyndsey, you want to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks very much for having me, Linda. And it's great to be on with these two lovely ladies as well. So my background, I started my career in industry, working in the IT arena. Quickly moved into management consulting, which I loved for the difference that you can make and also the different type of work you get to do. And then about 17, 18 years ago, I realized, I'd always been very entrepreneurial and I just wanted to branch out and do something for myself. So I actually became a franchise consultant, which gave me the opportunity to really feed that fascination I'd always had with business, as well as entrepreneurialism. And today I'm the executive vice president of Naturals to Go, which means I get to bring all of that experience I had before to help other people, both within our organization as well as new operators, to really develop and grow their businesses.
Yeah, I love that, Lyndsey, because, sometimes what we're hungry for, there's others out there looking for the same thing. And it's great to be able to turn around and help someone with that. Jessica, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am based in El Paso, Texas, and my husband and I are longtime entrepreneurs in trying to find, other businesses to diversify in. I became a franchise consultant like Lyndsey. I'm going almost on 9 years of being a franchise consultant, which was awesome. And my corporate days were spent in major broadcast media. And then recently, my friends at Naturals to Go, became close over the years as a franchise consultant. We will be basically running the ROC Center, Regional Operations Center here in El Paso for Naturals to Go. So franchising just comes full circle,
And you never know where it's going to take you, right? When you get started, you just never know the opportunities that are out there because it's pretty much endless. I love that.
And then Laura, as she was telling you earlier, I had the pleasure of mentoring her when, I was a trainer and a mentor. And here we are on the podcast.
And here we are. Absolutely. So Laura, on that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I'm Laura Rolfe. I just celebrated 4 years as a franchise consultant. Prior to helping entrepreneurs invest in business opportunities for themselves, I worked for 25 years in nonprofit. I had some very powerful female mentors and leaders in my nonprofit career, worked with many different franchise systems, very well-known franchise systems, doing cause marketing campaigns. So during COVID, I was looking at transitioning away from my W-2 job to looking at becoming an entrepreneur. And I met some wonderful women along the way that helped guide and mentor me and steer me towards becoming a franchise consultant. And best decision I ever made.
Yeah. I think all of us have spent some time in corporate. And when I was in corporate banking, I remember that last year I was in corporate, I kept feeling like I was sitting in someone else's chair. And I realized one day that I was preventing someone from having their dream job. It was no longer my dream job, but I was preventing someone from having their dream job, and I needed to make a move. Laura, did you ever have that point where you felt like it is time to do something, branch out and go out on my own? What point did you say, I think I want to try this entrepreneurial thing?
Well, COVID was a big catalyst. I was laid off because nonprofit donations were significantly impacted at the onset of COVID. So initially, I was looking at senior care. I'm a former licensed social worker. I managed an Alzheimer's unit very early in my career. So I looked at lots of senior care options and talked to many great consultants. I ended up working with a powerful female consultant who became my mentor and guided me to helping to continue to change lives. That's a core impact value of mine, is changing lives through entrepreneurship now, and then changing lives when I worked in the nonprofit realm. So it was a catalyst, and one that I was super nervous about, becoming a small business owner, but knew that I had lots of people that would support me. People like Jessica, who was my mentor, really set up the foundation for my success in business.
Yeah, I love that. And I do believe that, especially as women, we get to that point where we want to feel that we are making a difference. I can remember my boss asking me the day I gave him my resignation, what I was going to do. And I said, I don't know, but it has to be more purposeful. Jessica, did you have a moment where you were in corporate that you thought, I don't think this is very fulfilling any longer for me. I need something else?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can remember getting to the point where I practically wanted to cry because I didn't want to go in anymore, I just felt we were because in major broadcast media, I was in the sales side, right? Developing campaigns, going out there. But it became more about the dollar than really about what the client needed or what was best for the client. We were under so much pressure all the time to hit numbers, to hit goals, that it eventually just became like this machine to generate revenue versus really being impactful to that client and making a difference.
Yeah. And I think we do get to that point. Lyndsey, did you ever have that pivotal point? I know you said that you really enjoyed the management consulting, and you probably pull out of those tool bags right now with what you're doing. But did you ever have that pivotal point where you think, I just want to make my own decisions. I want to own my own business. At what point did you say, I'm out of here, basically?
It was very, very clear. And it was all about control. So I was actually at a friend's wedding in the UK, and I ended up basically being on a conference call in between the service and the reception. And my best friend looked at me and she's like, "What are you doing?" Is this? And the funny thing was, is that was actually my life. That was like normal for me to be putting my personal life around my business life. And when people say that to you, you stand back and you say, wow, what am I doing? And for me, I realized that the only way for me to truly have control was to be my own boss. Because I'd always been interested in business and entrepreneurship. It was a little scary, of course, but it was also pretty empowering. And it felt like I was able to really control and take my life in a direction rather than somebody else defining that direction for me.
Yeah, and I think we've all found ourselves in that position where we want to build something for ourselves instead of build it for someone else. Now, Lyndsey, I know that that you actually own vending machines. So you started your own vending business. Is there a unique opportunity that vending machine business offers to women in particular?
I think so. I really think so. There's a lot of people, you think about vending and you think about sort of old school kind of cigarette machine. That's kind of like the old school vision of vending. And one of the things that I most loved especially when I started my vending business, is how adaptable it is. So, I know for myself, I find myself wearing a lot of different hats. I'm a mom of 3. I have a day job, have other things going on. And for me, the vending was something that I realized early on, you need to do it well and you need to pay attention. However, you have a lot of control and flexibility about how you do that. So, for example, I would often own my machines, which were close to my kids' preschool. I would get up a little earlier, put my bins together, stick them in the car, drop the kids off at preschool, which, by the way, was a tax deduction because I was driving on the way to my vending machine. And I would then fill the machine. I was basically using my time really smartly. And as a woman, we're often, I think, juggling a lot of things. And I think vending is the perfect opportunity to enable you to really do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do love that because we, as women, we do juggle a lot of things. I also see that we make the connections between each and everything, and that's what helps it work, is because it's all connected. So, Jessica, you were talking about how now you are heading up the road in El Paso for Naturals to Go. How important is it for women to embrace opportunities, to really allow themselves to jump out there? And did it scare you just a little bit, Jessica, thinking about doing that?
Well, women, we rule the world, right? So, I think times are changing and there's so many opportunities for us women to just show everybody what we got, right? And so I think it's important when there is an opportunity that comes your way to embrace it and just say yes. You'll figure it out as you go, but know that you are capable of doing anything. Mm-hmm. And so just say yes, have faith, pray, and go, And so obviously it was a little scary when I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been a consultant for so long and now I'm going to, do this. And my consulting, I still want to do it, but I know it's going to take, some give and take. But it's also very exciting. I believe in the people of Naturals to Go. I love everybody. I love the concept that I'm just like, let's do this. It sounds fun.
Yeah, I love that. And I do think that women are getting braver because I see women like yourselves and taking that step out there. And we talked earlier about how crazy the connections are just on this particular interview. Laura, how important is it, especially for women, and why is it so important for women to have those mentors, to have those professional women that they can lean on and turn to? How important is that to us?
Well, I think female mentors have been role models in my life and shown me that, as Jessica said, if you feel like you can do it, 50%, you can figure out the rest of it. And if you have a strong support team around you of other female role models and leaders, they can help guide you along the way. So if you have doubts or you're not quite sure how to figure something out, you can reach out to another business leader and ask them questions and see how they figured it out early on. I'm part of a couple of female entrepreneur mentor and advisory groups, and I lean into them more than anybody else because I know that they're juggling careers with families and other things in their life, and we're trailblazers together in this business. And if I haven't done something, chances are somebody else has had experience in that area, so they can help guide me if I have questions. And, if I'm looking at launching something new with my business, I can vet it and see, am I crazy thinking about this new opportunity? Maybe we talk through it a little bit and I can create some more grandiose opportunity to help support future entrepreneurs and future leaders.
Laura, it's interesting that you say that because when I left corporate, I had a job for 30 something years, so I didn't know anything about networking. People said, oh, you need to network. So I thought, well, maybe if I create this little group for women and we could chit chat. Well, maybe there are other women out there that need that same type of support. And my first event was lunch at my house, and I had 40 women show up. This was 40 women I didn't know. And I started it because I wanted to learn from them. But we all learned from each other, and it was just a lovely experience. That was in 2006, and I'm still friends with so many of them. So when we think about that, Laura, how can we support women who are maybe thinking about doing something different, whether they're wanting to get out of corporate or maybe they've been out of the job market for a while and they don't know how to get back into it? How can we support those women?
Well, I think it's all starts with initial conversations and being approachable, talking about my experience becoming a business owner and what that looked like for me. Some of the fear that I felt as I was looking at entrepreneurship, and it's a little frightening. You're investing money, time, resources. Am I going to be successful? And so if I'm sharing my success and, some of the times that I was challenged early on in my business with others, they see, gosh, this is a real possibility that I could be an entrepreneur as well. And also being a connector. So if an example, I talked to somebody about becoming a franchise consultant a few weeks ago, and she knew that I lived in Phoenix, and she said, are you okay if I introduce you with 2 other powerhouse entrepreneurs who are female leaders in the Phoenix area? And I said, great. So we had a Zoom coffee last week, and now we're meeting for lunch next week. And I've been introduced to 3 BNI groups and 2 other networking groups where there's a lot of other powerful women. So just carrying that message of you can do this too, being very approachable to share my story and answer any questions, but not selling anybody on anything. Just have an open conversation. We tend to be very empathetic and compassionate towards other women, and I love sharing that with others.
Yeah, we definitely are great relationship builders, and certainly that's relevant here on this call. Jessica, I know that you said that you have been a consultant for quite some time. When you were working with women, maybe they were still in corporate, how did you help coach them through this process and the mindset shift from going from an employee to owning your own business, because it's very different?
You just have to put yourself in their shoes. I think us as women, we are born to be empathetic people, because we are mothers. And so you just have to put yourself in their shoes and relate to them, kind of like what, Laura was saying, and just, hey, fear is normal. If you're not scared at some point, then you don't have the passion, or you don't have the, I don't know, like the umph, so fear is normal. It is something that pushes you and drives you. So I think just being able to relate to that with them and be like, hey, it's okay, and then just go forward. And then the shift, I remember always telling, some of my clients that were women is, hey, you're taking off one hat and putting on another, but for yourself this time. The work that you have put in for somebody else is going to be the same work you put in, but in your own business. Okay. And because it's your own, you're going to care that much more about it and work even harder because it's your own. And so it's really not that different. You have more of the liability, if you will, but the reward is that much more significant as well.
I really love that, Jessica. I really never thought about it. You just changing the focus of where you place your work and your energy and your effort. Never really thought about it like that. Lyndsey, so you have certainly that entrepreneurial spirit, but you're still in the corporate world too these days. So how is it that you as an entrepreneurial woman, you probably have women in the company that look to you as well for leadership. So how do you balance some of that?
No, it's interesting because Laura said that she'd had a lot of great female role models. I did not. And that's something I'm very conscious of. There was a number of women around, but they weren't necessarily great role models. I didn't want to be them. I didn't want to be in the positions that they were in and operating in the way they were operating. So for me, the only way I know how is to be myself, to be authentic, and to show that I'm fallible, to own up when things aren't going perfectly, because I think there can be an impression in the corporate world, and I struggle to call what we are corporate, but I am W-2, so I guess it is corporate. In the corporate world, I think there can be an impression that you have this veneer and you have to be perfect and everything has to be just so. And I don't believe in that. I believe in people being people, and that's part of how we get people to really excel at what they do, because they are digging deep, they are showing who they are and using all of their resources. And if we put people in a little box, then we're not getting everything from them. And they're not able to give and be part of that and receive also. So I think the biggest thing that I try to do is to be approachable, of course, as Laura said, to make people know that I'm just a person like them with regular kind of problems, just like they are. It's logistics, those kind of things. And authentic, help people to really know that if they want to go into the entrepreneurship, or if they want to pursue a career from a corporate perspective, I hope that they can see something that they can relate to for themselves.
And, like you, Lyndsey, I didn't have the role models, because when I came out of banking, the women that were at that level, they had to conduct themselves and manage themselves like the men. And that's not natural for us. So it's not being authentic. So I appreciate you saying that, because I think so many times that when we show that other side, it's seen as weakness. I remember telling my daughter just recently, when she was young, I didn't dare ask for a day off, whether she was sick or whether there was an award ceremony, because that was seen as a sign of weakness. But ladies, to listen to the stories and to know women now, I am just so proud that it has changed. It's changed so much. And you know, the great thing is men are benefiting from that as well. Because it's okay for a man to say, hey, I need to go to my son's baseball game. It's okay to do that. And I think some of that kind of started with us. So on that vein, let's talk about how do we balance? You know, Lyndsey, you talked about the kiddos, and Jessica, I know you've got girls that are extremely active, and we all have our lives, but we still want to be great entrepreneurs and business people as well. Lyndsey, how do you do that?
That's awesome. Days I do better than others. So, it is a juggle, although frankly, I feel very blessed that we get the opportunity to be able to juggle, to be able to do different things. For me, it's a lot about being very focused during certain times. So what I learned myself early on, I've worked from home, so to speak, for about 17 years now. So I haven't had somebody sat next to me telling me what to do or how to do it. And what I learned early on is that I need to have structure. I need to have core hours. They can flex, but I'm most productive when I do that and when I set myself up that way. So when I was running my vending business, I would do things whereby I'd spend an hour on my day job. I do a couple of hours and no more on the vending, and then I come back and I'd be completely focused on everything else. And I realized early on that was the way I needed to do it, because otherwise, if I suddenly looked up and went, oh, I should go fill this vending machine, then I was all over the place. And so that for me, that's a big part of it. I also believe in putting myself in the mental frame of mind. So I will always be dressed and showered, for example, regardless of whether I'm going to be on screen or not. I think some of those disciplines really help to keep you organized, but also manage expectations. I will say the other thing for me is technology. I used to, when I was a management consultant, I used to hate the fact that people could contact me at any point. Now I really appreciate that. I can be in the car line for gymnastics. I can be checking some emails and getting through some things, really using my downtime where I'm not doing anything else particularly productive, where I can really make the most of that time. So I really appreciate what we have from a technology perspective as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally understand that. And Jessica, I know your girls are so active, and you and your hubby have so many things going on. So what is, and I was corrected the other day. I'm used to saying work-life balance, and I was corrected, and it's life-work balance.
Right.
So, which I like. So, Jessica, how do you have that life-work balance and also factor in some self-care?
Well, yeah. So like Lyndsey, some days I feel like some days are better than others. And then other days I'm like, what is going on? I have to be very structured like Lyndsey also. So 9 o'clock is my first meeting because I have to have that morning with my daughters, getting them to school, talking to them, making sure they have everything, lunches. And I love technology in my consulting business because the technology does most of the work for me. I kind of am like the doctor approach where I come in last minute and just make the calls. The follow-ups, everything else, people jumping on my calendar, that's all done through technology. I live by my calendar. I literally schedule everything, whether it's work, the stuff for my girls and all their activities. As you know, they're super busy. I'm a big believer not missing anything for my girls. they're only little for a short period of time. I want them to know mom was there at all their games, picking them up, taking them, going to all the, awards, things that they have. For me, that is my priority. But if I'm very diligent during the day, and I have everything organized and I can get to all my work, I don't feel guilty about it, so that I can be available for my girls. And so my calendar is huge for me, everything is in there. And then, if I'm in the lines, like Lyndsey said, that's when I catch up on some of the minutia stuff that that the technology doesn't do for me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Lyndsey, I think we all work from home, and I've had people say, oh, you're so fortunate to be able to work from home. Well, that's a double-edged sword, because I think the dryer just beeped. Oh, I need to go take care of that. And along the way, I'm going to pick up a few things. Oh, and I probably need to leave something out for dinner. So, Laura, how do you structure your day so that you get the most out of it, but you still have that balance? You still are able to take care of yourself along the way.
Yeah, so there's somebody else at my house, and so I okay, I have to say, I'm on a call right now, and just kind of respect that this needs to be structured quiet time, and sometimes they respect that, and sometimes they're just oblivious to it, and don't, or they'll throw in a load of laundry, or I'll get a load of laundry in, and you just have to shut the door. But I appreciate creating that life work balance, because I can work from anywhere. I work from home. I have a lot of structure. So I have a day that I know is laundry day. And so I'm not busy like throwing in a load just any given day, because I can get distracted by household work and chores and making dinner. So I'm a little more structured if I know like Friday is the day that laundry is done, because I'm doing mostly catch up and I do fewer phone calls on Friday. So that just makes sense for me. When I first started my consulting business, my brother-in-law died, and my sister needed me. And so I was able to pack up my office and take it with me to Colorado and work remotely for a few weeks and be supportive of her and not feel like I'm torn between, gosh, am I working or am I supporting my family? I was able to create a balance to do both. Because I'm my own boss in my own business. And with that, I get to set my own hours. And if I need to be there for my sister, or my kids are adults now. So Friday, my daughter asked if I could come over and help her go through a few things at her house and then go to lunch. And I didn't have anything on my calendar. So sure, I'd love to come over for lunch and help you out at your house. So creating those special moments is really important. And while I have a lot of structure, I also have a lot of flexibility and autonomy in my job, where I get to have a lot of freedom that I didn't have when I work for somebody else. And I also get to be a role model for my kids. My daughter really appreciates that I am an entrepreneur, and I host a weekly podcast, and I'm all in when it comes to supporting and mentoring other women entrepreneurs. And I love being that for my kids, who are both adults.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I think back on the role models I did or did not have, they certainly weren't stressing that there needed to be some emphasis on ourselves. It was all about make sure you work, make sure there's dinner, make sure that everything is taken care of. Self-care. What is self-care? There was that whole generation that really knew nothing about that. Ladies, we have come down to the end of the show, but I'd like for you, if there's someone listening, and maybe this lady is wanting to step out of the corporate, maybe she's wanting to take the leap, what advice could you offer today that might support her in making a decision that was right for her? Lyndsey, do you have any words of advice that you could offer someone?
I'll do it. Go
Do
for
it.
it. remember that we as women, I think, are especially resourceful, and I think can really adapt to a lot of different things. And as Laura said before, if you think you can do something 50%, go for it, because there is a whole community around you, and especially now, there's a whole community around you of people who can support you. And this isn't just about what it can do for you, it's about what it can do for your circle too. How is it going to impact your friends, your siblings, your staff, your kids, whether your kid's female or female? You're setting a lot of other people up by showing them what you can go do. So grab it, go for it, and show them what you can do.
I love that. And Jessica, how about yourself? If there's a mom out there that's wondering, could I take on one more thing? Is this an opportunity that I really need to look at closely? What advice would you give her?
I would say look at your network, find somebody who is doing what you want to do, and reach out. Reach out, have conversations, ask for them to be your mentor, and just approach it with an open heart. If that's something you want to do, do it. Because I think self-care, you kept alluding to that, is very important. At some point, you have to look in the mirror and do what's right for you, because our kids do grow, and time will open up. So I think just educating yourself, reaching out to other people who you think, mimic what you want to do is important also.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, Jessica, because sometimes we think we don't know others are doing it. And they say that if you're thinking about doing something and someone's already doing it, guess what? You can do that too.
Yeah.
It's being done, so you can do that too. Laura, what advice would you offer a woman? And maybe she is at that age like yourself, an empty nester, where they have all left the nest and just reevaluating life. What advice would you give her?
There's no greater investment than investing in yourself and in your future. And if you've ever thought about business ownership or becoming an entrepreneur, there's such a vast amount of opportunities available. Put your toe in the water, talk to somebody, as Jessica mentioned, and you'd be surprised where that conversation can go. You can have conversations and coffee and connect with girlfriends and say, I'm thinking about this. What are your ideas? And a great conversation starters. And who do you know who I might be able to connect with to learn a little bit more about business ownership? And it's kind of a snowball effect. And before you know it, you're evaluating a great opportunity that really aligns with your value systems, creating that balance in your life, and you're a role model for your family and for other females interested in entrepreneurship. So just start it, I guess is my advice.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is we don't know who's watching. We don't know who's watching on social media and watching success and also being honest and transparent, like you were talking about, Lyndsey, to say, I don't want to go to work today. I'd like to just stay in bed, pull the covers over my head. And, it's okay to say that. I'm going to get out of bed and I'm going to do what I need to do. But sometimes you just think, just because someone social media page looks like everything is coming up roses, don't compare any of your stumbles or the obstacles to that, because they have their stumbles, they have their obstacles as well. Nothing is perfect. Ladies, thank you all so much for carving some time out of your busy day. I know that you all have a lot of things that you could be doing, but I appreciate you sharing your expertise to the women that are listening. So folks, as you know, I always leave you with a quote, and this one goes like this: you'll never do a whole lot unless you're brave enough to try. and that's Dolly Parton. And she's tried a lot of things, and there's a lot of success, but you'll never experience that success until you first try. So folks, thanks so much for joining me today on VIBEcast. And until next time, go out and live the vibe.
That's a wrap for this episode of the VIBEcast. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your entrepreneurial journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all your favorite platforms to stay connected with the Vibe community. Until next time, keep nurturing that strong vision, fueling your inspiration, and embracing a sense of belonging and empowerment. Your dreams are within reach, so keep living the vibe.